Just before midnight on the 17th of April 2019, a plane landed in Amritsar. It belonged to an airline that had been flying for 26 years. 600 flights a day, at its peak, one in every four people flying in India. That aircraft parked at the gate and Jet Airways never flew again. 20,000 people lost their jobs. 8,000 crore rupees of bank money went with it, and more than 1 lakh ordinary shareholders are still holding the stock today. They can't sell it. I'll show you why at the end, and it is genuinely strange. Three things: how India's premium airline went from a quarter of the market to zero in 5 months, the one cost problem that meant Jet lost money even when it did everything right, and the 5 year rescue that never arrived, ending in the most unusual thing the Supreme Court has ever done to a listed company. Every Saturday, I take one Indian company and animate its entire stock story, the fortunes and the collapses. Subscribe so you get the next one. Jet Airways was founded on the 1st of April 1992 by Naresh Goyal. Goyal wasn't a pilot or an engineer. He was a travel agent. He had spent 2 decades selling other airline seats, and he understood the business from the ticket counter up. When India opened its skies to private carriers, he was ready. Jet flew its first flight in 93, and for the next 15 years it did something no Indian private airline had done. It made flying feel premium. Leather seats, hot meals, crews that actually smiled. By 2010, Jet Airways was carrying 1 in 4 domestic passengers in India. At its peak, roughly 600 flights a day, 2006, Goyal buys Air Sahara. The first price agreed 2,300 crore rupees. The deal collapses. It's recut a year later at 1,450 crore. He renames it Jet Light, and this is where the trouble starts. Jet was a full service airline, Sahara was not. Two fleets, two cost structures, two cultures bolted together. The debt from that deal never really went away. Then the ground shifted underneath him. IndiGo, low cost, single fleet type, ruthless on turnaround times, no free meals, no frills. And Indian flyers, it turned out, cared far more about price than about leather seats. Jet was trapped in the middle, too expensive to compete with Indigo and SpiceJet, not good enough to be a global luxury carrier. In 2013, Etihad buys 24% of Jet, fresh capital, a lifeline. It buys time. It does not fix the maths, because there was one more problem, and it was the biggest one. Jet's costs were in dollars. Fuel, leases, spare parts, dollars. Its revenue was in rupees. Every time the rupee weakened, Jet lost money without doing anything wrong. By 2018, the bill comes due. Jet Airways posts losses quarter after quarter. The airline stops paying salaries, pilots, engineers, ground staff for months at a time. It stops paying lessors. And when you stop paying the people who own your aircraft, they take the aircraft back. The fleet shrinks from over 100 planes to 70 to 40 to 16. In March 2019, the banks force Naresh Goyal out of the company he built. He steps down from the board of Jet Airways, and on the 17th of April, with 5 aircraft left and no cash to refuel them, Jet Airways flies its last flight, Mumbai to Amritsar, and then nothing. Now look at what happened to the people who owned the shares. In June 2018, Jet Airways traded at 400 rupees. 1 year later, it was under 30. The exchanges pulled it out of futures and options, then moved it to trade settlement, which is what an exchange does when it is trying to slow down a falling knife. But the price was never the real problem. The cue was the banks were owed more than 8,000 crore rupees. The lessors were owed for their aircraft. The employees were owed months of unpaid salary. Under insolvency law, every one of them sits above equity, which means before 1 rupee reaches a shareholder, all of that has to be paid first. It never was. June 2019, Jet Airways becomes the first Indian commercial airline admitted to bankruptcy court. A winning bidder is chosen, the Jalan Kelrock Consortium. Their plan is approved in 2021, and then nothing happens. The money doesn't arrive. The lenders and the consortium go to tribunal, then to appellate tribunal, then to the Supreme Court. Again and again, the airline's operating certificate expires in September 2023 and is never renewed. On the 7th of November 2024, the Supreme Court says it has no choice. It orders Jet Airways liquidated. It forfeits the 200 crore the consortium had paid, and the court says something that should be printed on the wall of every insolvency tribunal in the country. Timely liquidation is preferred over endless resolution. So back to the thing I promised you at the start. 1,48,000 shareholders still own about a fifth of this company, a company with no aircraft, no license, no staff, under a court order to be sold for parts. And here is the strange part. Open any broker app right now and look up Jet Airways. You will see a price 34 rupees and 4 paise. That is not what the company is worth. It is not a live price at all. It is the closing price on the 7th of November 2024, the day of the Supreme Court judgment. The next morning, the exchanges suspended trading and the number simply stopped. It has not moved by 1 paisa since, not because nobody wants to sell, because nobody can. 1,48,000 people holding a share they cannot exit, watching a price that is no longer a price. It is a photograph. The lesson isn't that Jet Airways failed. Airlines fail everywhere in the world. The lesson is what a share actually is. It is not a claim on a brand, not on nostalgia or good service or a name you grew up flying. It is the last claim in the queue, behind the banks, behind the lessors, behind the employees. Everything else gets paid first, and sometimes there is nothing left to pay with next Saturday, Paytm. India's biggest IPO and its biggest listing disaster. This is Ticker Flicker.